Welcome to Decoding Political Science, 6 Key Concepts Explained. Politics shapes our lives, but its inner workings are often a mystery. Did you know that in 2020, more than $3.5 billion was spent on lobbying in the US? Or that populism has surged globally, shaking up traditional politics in over 30 countries? These are just glimpses into the power plays behind the scenes. In this series, we'll uncover the secrets of political influence, from Machiavellian strategies to the rise of populism. We'll explore how global governance really works and delve into the politics of identity. Each chapter is packed with eye-opening facts and real-world examples. Join us as we decode the complex world of politics, revealing the strategies and forces that shape our societies. Ready to dive in? Let's get started with our first chapter on the art of political influence. Chapter 1, Power Play, the art of political influence. Welcome to the fascinating world of political influence. It's not just about who gets the most votes but about how power is wielded behind the scenes. Politicians, lobbyists, and interest groups all play a role in shaping policies and public opinion. For instance, did you know that in 2020, over $3.5 billion was spent on lobbying in the US alone? That's a lot of money aimed at swaying decisions. Lobbyists are like the shadow players in a political game. They provide lawmakers with data, draft bills, and even help in campaign funding. A famous example is the pharmaceutical industry, which spends millions to influence drug policy. In fact, the top lobbyist spender in 2020 was the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America, shelling out $25.9 million. Politicians often rely on these lobbyists for expertise. After all, no one can be an expert on every issue. But this reliance can lead to biased decisions. It's a delicate balance between getting necessary information and being unduly influenced. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich once said, "Lobbyists are like perfume, to be sniffed, not swallowed." Interest groups also play a crucial role. These groups, like the NRA or Greenpeace, mobilize public opinion and resources. They can make or break political careers. For instance, the NRA has been known to heavily influence gun legislation in the US through its powerful lobbying efforts and voter mobilization. Public opinion is another powerful tool. Politicians keep a close eye on polls and social media trends. In 2008, Barack Obama's campaign effectively used social media to mobilize young voters, setting a new standard in political strategy. It's not just about pushing policies but also about being in tune with what people want. Moreover, media plays a significant role in shaping public opinion. Media outlets can frame issues in ways that influence public perception and policy. In 1997, Rupert Murdoch's media empire was said to have influenced the outcome of the UK general election. This power to shape narratives can't be underestimated. Political endorsements are another tactic. When a popular figure supports a candidate, it can sway voters. Oprah Winfrey's endorsement of Obama in 2008 is estimated to have brought him over 1 million votes. It's a reminder of how personal influence can impact political outcomes. Money, of course, is a huge factor. Campaign finance is a contentious issue. The Citizens United vs. FEC ruling in 2010 allowed unlimited corporate spending in elections, changing the political landscape dramatically. This has led to debates about the role of money in politics and its impact on democracy. Grassroots movements also wield significant power. Movements like the Tea Party or Black Lives Matter show how collective action can lead to political change. These movements often start small but can grow to influence national politics. They remind us that power isn't just held by the elite. Chapter 2, Ideological Warfare. Beyond left and right, political ideologies shape how we see the world and make decisions. But it's not just about being left or right. There's a whole spectrum of beliefs that influence politics. For example, centrism seeks a middle ground, balancing ideas from both sides. In a 2019 Pew Research study, 38% of Americans identified as independents, showing a significant centrist presence. Libertarianism, on the other hand, emphasizes individual freedom and limited government. The Cato Institute, a libertarian think tank, advocates for free markets and civil liberties. Their influence can be seen in debates about government regulation and personal freedoms. Then there's progressivism, which pushes for social reform and equality. Progressive ideas have driven policies like the New Deal in the 1930s and the Affordable Care Act in 2010. These policies aim to address social inequalities and provide public welfare. On the flip side, conservatism emphasizes tradition and stability. Conservative policies often focus on reducing government spending and preserving traditional values. Ronald Reagan's presidency in the 1980s is a prime example of conservative principles in action, focusing on tax cuts and a strong national defense. Environmentalism is another ideology that's gained traction. It focuses on protecting the planet and sustainable living. The Green Party, for instance, promotes policies that address climate change and environmental justice. Greta Thunberg's activism has also brought environmental issues to the forefront of global politics. Feminism, advocating for gender equality, has also shaped political discourse. The #MeToo movement highlighted issues of sexual harassment and gender discrimination, leading to policy changes and greater awareness. Feminist ideas continue to influence discussions on workplace equality and reproductive rights. Populism, characterized by its appeal to the people against the elite, has seen a rise globally. Leaders like Donald Trump in the US and Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil have used populist rhetoric to gain support. Populism often challenges established political norms and institutions. Socialism, advocating for collective ownership and wealth distribution, has also made waves. Bernie Sanders' campaigns in the US brought socialist ideas into mainstream politics, focusing on healthcare and income inequality. Countries like Denmark and Sweden implement social democratic policies, blending socialism with capitalism. Nationalism, emphasizing national identity and sovereignty, has influenced many political movements. Brexit is a prime example, where British nationalism played a key role in the decision to leave the European Union. Nationalism can strengthen national unity but also lead to exclusionary policies. Lastly, anarchism, which seeks to abolish government and create a self-managed society, offers a radical alternative. While not mainstream, anarchist ideas influence various protest movements and critiques of state power. These ideologies often overlap and evolve. They influence policies, shape political parties, and drive public debate. Understanding this ideological diversity helps us see beyond simple left-right divisions. It reveals the rich tapestry of beliefs that shape our political landscape. Chapter 3, The Machiavellian Game, Strategy in Politics. Welcome back to our deep dive into political science. Now, let's unravel the Machiavellian strategies that dominate the political arena. Niccolò Machiavelli, an Italian diplomat, penned The Prince in 1532, laying the groundwork for understanding political cunning. He famously said, "The ends justify the means," a principle many politicians still follow today. Political campaigns are battlegrounds of strategy. Take the 2016 US presidential election, for instance. Donald Trump's unconventional approach, using bold and often controversial statements, garnered massive media coverage. This strategy, known as earned media, saved his campaign millions in advertising costs. Data-driven strategies are another powerful tool. Barack Obama's 2012 campaign utilized big data to tailor messages to individual voters. This micro-targeting approach increased voter turnout by identifying and mobilizing key demographics. A study from the University of Cambridge showed that personalized messages can boost voter engagement by up to 40%. Political debates are also strategic showdowns. In 1960, the first televised debate between Nixon and Kennedy highlighted the power of media. Kennedy's calm demeanor and polished appearance won over television viewers, while radio listeners thought Nixon had won. It was a lesson in the importance of image in politics. Another tactic is controlling the narrative. Politicians often use spin to present information favorably. For example, after the 2008 financial crisis, the Obama administration framed the stimulus package as a recovery act, emphasizing positive outcomes to gain public support. This reframing can shift public perception and rally support for policies. Strategic alliances are crucial, too. Forming coalitions can help pass legislation and consolidate power. In the UK, the Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition of 2010 allowed both parties to share governance despite differing ideologies. These alliances often require negotiation and compromise but can be vital for achieving political goals. Behind every successful politician is a team of strategists. These advisors craft policies, manage public relations, and plan campaigns. Karl Rove, often called the architect, played a key role in George W. Bush's presidential victories. He orchestrated strategies that appealed to the conservative base while reaching out to undecided voters. Scandals, while potentially devastating, can also be managed strategically. The Clinton-Lewinsky scandal in the late 1990s threatened Bill Clinton's presidency. However, by focusing on his political achievements and rallying support from key allies, Clinton managed to maintain significant public approval. Gerrymandering is another strategic maneuver, albeit a controversial one. By redrawing electoral districts, parties can create a voting advantage. The term comes from an 1812 incident where Massachusetts Governor Elbridge Gerry signed a bill creating a district that resembled a salamander. This practice can significantly influence election outcomes. Chapter 4, Populism Unpacked, The People's Power? Populism is shaking up the political landscape worldwide. But what exactly is populism, and why is it so compelling? At its core, populism is about appealing to the people against the elite. It's a strategy that taps into widespread frustrations and promises to give power back to ordinary citizens. One key to populism's appeal is its simplicity. Populist leaders often use straightforward, relatable language. They frame complex issues in a way that's easy to understand. This approach resonates with people who feel alienated by traditional political discourse. As George Orwell noted, political language is designed to make lies sound truthful and murder respectable. Populist movements often arise in times of crisis. Economic downturns, political scandals, and social upheaval create fertile ground for populism. For instance, the 2008 financial crisis fueled the rise of populist parties in Europe, such as Greece's Syriza and Spain's Podemos. These parties promised to challenge austerity measures and protect social welfare. Charismatic leadership is another hallmark of populism. Leaders like Donald Trump in the US, Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, and Viktor Orban in Hungary have captivated voters with their bold, unfiltered rhetoric. A 2018 study by the Pew Research Center found that trust in traditional politicians was declining, making way for these unconventional figures. Populists often use "us versus them" rhetoric to rally support. They position themselves as champions of the people against corrupt elites. This strategy can unite diverse groups with a common enemy. In Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan has used this tactic to consolidate power, blaming external forces for the country's problems. Chapter 5, Global Governance: Who really runs the world? Welcome back. Let's dive into the complex world of global governance. It's a web of international organizations, treaties, and alliances that shape our global landscape. But who really runs the world? One key player is the United Nations, UN. Founded in 1945, the UN aims to maintain international peace and security. It has 193 member states, almost every country in the world. The UN Security Council, with its 5 permanent members, can pass binding resolutions. This small group holds significant power in global decisions. The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, IMF, are also crucial. They provide financial assistance and policy advice to countries in need. For instance, during the 2008 financial crisis, the IMF lent billions to stabilize economies. These institutions influence global economic policies, often promoting market-friendly reforms. Trade organizations play a significant role, too. The World Trade Organization, WTO, oversees international trade rules. It helps resolve trade disputes between countries. In 2018, the US filed a complaint against China over intellectual property practices, showcasing the WTO's role in managing global trade tensions. Regional organizations like the European Union, EU, also wield power. The EU sets regulations that member states must follow, impacting everything from trade to environmental policies. Brexit highlighted the EU's influence, as the UK's departure led to significant political and economic changes. Military alliances, like NATO, are another aspect of global governance. NATO, formed in 1949, is a collective defense alliance. An attack on one member is considered an attack on all. This has shaped military strategies and security policies, especially in conflicts involving NATO countries. Non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and multinational corporations, MNCs, are influential as well. NGOs like Amnesty International advocate for human rights and can pressure governments to change policies. MNCs, such as Google and ExxonMobil, have vast economic power and can influence global markets and regulations. Climate agreements illustrate global governance in action. The Paris Agreement, signed in 2015, aims to combat climate change. Countries commit to reducing greenhouse gas emissions, showing how global cooperation can address shared challenges. Despite the US withdrawing under Trump, the agreement continues to drive international climate policy. Diplomacy is a key strategy in global governance. Leaders meet at summits like the G7 and G20 to discuss global issues. These meetings can lead to important agreements and collaborations. In 2016, the Paris Agreement was a result of years of diplomatic efforts.